Just over 48 hours ago, a Boeing 737 MAX crashed in Ethiopia, making it the second of the aircraft type to crash in a few months. We don't know exactly what happened, though we know there are similarities between the two crashes, and we also know that some software updates will be released soon, later than initially promised. There are nearly 400 Boeing 737 MAX aircraft, operated by nearly 60 airlines. Over the past 48 hours we've seen country after country ground them, and we've also seen many airlines voluntarily ground them. At this point, every major Boeing 737 MAX operator outside of North America has grounded these planes, either voluntarily or by request from the government, every single one. Yet none of the US or Canadian operators of the plane, American, Southwest, United, Air Canada, and WestJet, have grounded their planes, voluntarily or involuntarily. It's debatable whether United should or not, given that they operate the -9, and the -8 was involved in both accidents. The airlines that have grounded their planes presumably haven't taken the decision lightly, as it's going to be very costly. They haven't done this because they absolutely know something is wrong with the plane. Rather, they've grounded the 737 MAX because they don't absolutely know that something isn't wrong with the plane. Modern aviation is so incredibly safe, so to see two of the same types of new planes crash so close apart should be concerning, if nothing else. But at some point, doesn't the US, and to a lesser extent Canada, come out of this looking ridiculous? Boeing is standing behind their plane. The FAA is standing behind Boeing. American and Canadian airlines are standing behind the plane. It's the US and Canada against the world, it seems. Are they actually 100% certain that there's nothing systematically wrong with the 737 MAX, including the way pilots are trained to fly it? Do they think the concerns of every other relevant aviation authority in the world are unfounded? If they even have the slightest concern about the integrity of the plane, shouldn't they put lives ahead of profits? Even if they stand behind the plane, I'd be willing to bet that public opinion will otherwise cause these planes to be grounded. Just look at the news, it's constantly being talked about. Just look at the Twitter timelines of these airlines, and you'll see that almost every single question is from people asking if they're scheduled to fly a 737 MAX, and if they can change flights. Just go to an airport. I've heard a countless number of reports today of people at airports overhearing questions about whether they're flying one of those bad planes. The US FAA has long been the gold standard for aviation safety, and has been the organization that others have followed. How much credibility do they lose when dozens of other authorities temporarily ground the plane, and they do nothing? I also don't understand how US airlines think they're going to win in this situation. Unions at American and Southwest are calling for the planes to be grounded. This isn't just going to fade away, and in my opinion the longer US airlines and/or the FAA wait, the worse they look in all of this. I'd say American looks especially bad here. At least Southwest is letting people rebook onto different planes, while American isn't. What do you guys think? Do you think US, Canadian Airlines and the FAA will eventually be forced to change their tune here, or do you think they're sticking to their guns? Page 2. Early Sunday morning, an Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 MAX crashed shortly after takeoff, making it the second 737 MAX to crash during the initial phase of flight in the past several months. A Lion Air 737 MAX crashed after takeoff last October. What do two crashes mean for the 737 MAX? As I addressed in a follow-up post, at this point a lot of people are concerned about the 737 MAX, as there are a lot more questions than answers. We don't know for sure if there's anything actually wrong with the plane, or if there's anything wrong with the way pilots are trained to fly the plane. And if either of those are the case, we don't know what exactly the problem is. We do know that modern aviation is incredibly safe, so to have two of the same brand new planes crash just months apart is highly unusual. The last thing anyone wants to see is a tragedy like this happen again. As a result, we're seeing an increasing number of airlines and aviation authorities temporarily ground the plane until we find out more. So let's take a look at where things stand, and then I plan to update this post as there's more to report. Which airlines fly the 737 MAX? Currently, there are 387 Boeing 737 MAX aircraft in operation, 74 of which are operated by U.S. Airlines. These planes are operated by a total of 59 airlines. Here are the airlines that fly the 737 MAX, along with how many of the planes they had delivered to them. Aerolíneas Argentinas, 9, Aeromexico, 5, Air Canada, 20, Air China, 14, Air Italy, 5, American, 20, Cayman, 2, China Eastern, 13, China Southern, 16, Comair, 1, Copa, 5, Corendon, 1, Eastar Jet, 2, Enter Air, 2, Ethiopian Airlines, 5, Fiji Airways, 2, Fly Dubai, 14, Fujo, 2, Garuda Indonesia, 1, GOL, 6, Hainan, 7, Icelandair, 3, Jet Airways, 6, Kunming, 2, Lion Air, 14, Lot Polish, 5, Lucky Air, 3, Mauritania Airlines, 1, Miat Mongolian, 1, Norwegian, 18, OK Airways, 1, Oman Air, 5, Royal Air Maroc, 2, Shandong, 6, Shanghai Airlines, 11, Shenzhen, 5, Silk Air, 5, Southwest, 31, SpiceJet, 7, Sunwing, 3, S7, 2, Thai Line, 3, TUI, 11, Turkish, 7, United, 12, WestJet, 12, Shaman, 9. Note that in some cases the numbers may be a bit off or inconsistent. This is because I consolidated the numbers from airlines with multiple business units, like Norwegian, and also in some cases, there's a discrepancy between how many planes an airline has taken delivery of, and how many they're actually flying. Which airlines? In some cases we're seeing airlines voluntarily ground the planes, to err on the side of caution. In other cases, we're seeing aviation authorities ground the plane. When aviation authorities ground the plane, it either applies to all flights to that country, or in some cases just applies to airlines from the home country. So, with that in mind, where is the 737 MAX grounded? Which countries have grounded the 737 MAX? Australia. No airlines are allowed to operate the plane to 2. This essentially says that the FAA is supporting the current investigation. As they explain, all data will be closely examined during this investigation, and the FAA will take appropriate action if the data indicates the need to do so. External reports are drawing similarities between this accident and the Lion Air Flight 610 accident on October 29, 2018. However, this investigation has just begun and to date we have not been provided data to draw any conclusions or take any actions. They go on to talk about the ongoing oversight activities by the FAA, and what they learned from the Lion Air crash. This suggests to me that the FAA doesn't plan on changing its stance and grounding the plane as a precaution, but rather would only do so if they learn something new. At this point, I think the only way the 737 MAX will be grounded in the U.S. is if there's sufficient public pressure, either from the media, from passengers, or from crews. I'll be curious to see if that happens. Arguably the government shutdown was ended due to issues with air traffic control staffing, so it doesn't seem that unreasonable. Bottom line, if my math is right, at this point about half of 737 MAX aircraft are grounded. Air Canada, American, Southwest, and WestJet continue to fly their 737 MAX aircraft, which represents nearly 100 of the planes. I'm curious to see how this unfolds. Air crash investigations can take months, if not years. Will the airlines that haven't grounded the plane continue to let the plane fly without knowing more? Will the airlines that have grounded the plane really keep it grounded for months and months? Without more information, I hope they do, and putting safety over profit is the right thing to do, but often businesses get swayed to make decisions that are in their short-term financial interests. If there are any airlines or authorities I missed, please let me know, and I'll try to keep the list updated.